Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to QBL Round 5 and your QBL Game of the Week, presented by Live Sport Australia and Nothing But Net Media. As always, my name is Regan Baker, and tonight in the commentary booth, as always, we've got live stream extraordinaire John Guana and ex-Siebel and QBL superstar Dan George.
Regan, thanks for that intro. We've got the Ipswich Force taking on the Toowoomba Mountaineers in this QBL Game of the Week. Dan, we saw Toowoomba last week against Southwest. The story of that game was the injury to Melina Washington. We've since confirmed that Melina is gone for the season, unfortunately for her and unfortunately for the Mountaineers. She had the injury. It was an ACL and an MCL injury. It looked bad, and the scans confirmed the injury. I just want to give a shout-out to Melina. She was really impressive in the minutes that we saw, and she was a key part of this Toowoomba outfit. They're going to miss her sorely. We wish her all the best and hope for a speedy recovery for Melina. And who knows, we might see her again in Queensland in the future. Getting back to the basketball, though, it's a tremendous loss for the Mountaineers. Taking on an undefeated Ipswich side here tonight without Washington. They do have their second import back in, and we got to see Valentine last week. Do you think it was Fountain? I don't know why I have Valentine in my head. But Fountain is going to have a lot on her shoulders here tonight against this tremendous Ipswich team.
She sure is, and I think further to your point about Melina Washington, I think she would have made Fountain a really good player because Melina showed she can score, but she can also set up other players. So Fountain's got her work cut out. Not only now does she have to carry up and step up and carry an even bigger load, but she has to now create it all herself, or a lot of it herself, which Washington would have done for her. So at the same time, this is a chance for a very young Toowoomba team now with no expectations on them at all. There's not many weeks of the season that they're going to be tipped to win a game, unfortunately, but that does mean that these younger players can develop and they can come in without any pressure at all, and you just never know. Someone in that group might step up and show that they're going to be a quality QBL player for years to come.
And Ipswich comes into tonight undefeated at 4-0. They're probably one of the teams that's flying a bit under the radar at the moment. They do have Amanda Johnson. She's won the QBL Player of the Week 2 times already this season. They've got a lot of talent when you look at the roster. What does Ipswich have to do tonight? They obviously, talent-wise, they probably should win this game. How do they overcome that overconfidence against the team that's still looking for their first win?
Well, I think at this stage in the season, most teams are still trying to implement their own structure and their style of play. So, for example, is Toowoomba going to come out and be a team that's going to have to move the ball a lot now? Is Ipswich going to run more ISO ball? Who knows? Different teams have different styles. So whether they're up by 10 or down by 20 or whatever the score is, I'm sure Coach George, who's done a great job for a few years here now with this Ipswich team, is going to want them to play a certain style of basketball. So I don't think they're going to be too worried about what Toowoomba does. If they're up by 20 or 30 or 50 points, or if they're down, it's a close game. That should not change the style of play that they come out and put on the floor tonight.
Ipswich in their home camos. I love the Ipswich Force jerseys, by the way. Can we give them a little credit for that, going with the camo?
They do look good. Yes, I'm a fan.
They almost blend in with the court a bit, though. It's hard to see them.
It is.
Ipswich comes out with their starting 5. They've got Kate Head, Rachel Mate, Bree Farley, Amanda Johnson, and a player that we're seeing for the first time in person, Jintare Mazanite. She's an impressive player on paper. Let's see what she can do on the floor. Toowoomba answers with Gabriel, Fountain, Despina Dickerson, Emily Dirksen, and also Taylor Velach. So we're going to see right away. I think the first few minutes is going to say a lot for this game for both sides, Dan.
Well, I think the fact that Toomba's come out with Dirksen and Taylor, that's a big front court. You might find they sit back in a zone for a good chunk of this game because as we saw last week with Southwest, their depth is not one of their strengths. We see some good hustle up the floor, so they might come back and sit in a zone for a lot of this game, but they are in man to start with, so we'll see if they switch that up.
And you definitely mentioned the depth. They only have 3 players on the bench as Mate goes to the bucket, can't finish. Good fight for the rebound. Fountain comes down with it, so Toowoomba will be happy with that first defensive possession. And then Fountain attacking the defense, lays it in. Positive passage there for Toowoomba to start the match.
It sure is, and we saw last week, even with Washington, who, as we know, is a great player in this league, the half-court game, they did struggle a little bit to get it going, whereas if they can get stops and obviously get out and run and get some transition hoops like what we just saw, it's going to make life so much easier for Toowoomba. But the challenge is obviously getting stops and getting out and running. But so far, they're able to do that on the first possession.
Kate Head with the ball. She recently committed to Division I Kennesaw State in the Atlantic Sun Conference out in Georgia. So,
that's great.
Yeah, congratulations to Kate. as Toowoomba forces a shot clock violation. So 2 stops to start the match for Toowoomba. Gotta love the energy from the Mountaineers. You see the bench into it as well.
Well, it's great signs, and I think for a Toowoomba team that is certainly in a rebuilding phase, both the men and women's programs, that's the kind of culture setting that they'd love to see, but unfortunately, just the full court pressure in Ipswich was a bit much to handle there for them, but they keep the ball on the possession arrow. But I mean, the fact that this bench, having come off a couple of big losses, is up and about and they're cheering, wonderful signs.
Pressure, though, forces the turnover and make, gets Ipswich's first points. And this is, if I'm Ipswich, this is exactly what I'm doing. I want to challenge the ball handlers for Toowoomba. You know their point guard's out for the season.
Yeah, and it's sad in many ways, but that's going to be something that Toowoomba sees a lot of. But I think, and Fountain has skills and a good handle, but I think we're going to see that the best way to beat a press is with the pass, not with the dribble.
Looking to see what Johnson can do as well. She's been a fantastic player so far. She's been a force for the force. The early foul called there on 11 Taylor Villach. So first team foul for Toowoomba, first one for Taylor as well. She got into a bit of foul trouble last week against Southwest as well.
And she has interesting body language in that I'm not sure, like if she got down in a stance and really wanted to, she could put up 15 rebounds a week, just given her athleticism, but I'm not sure that that she's as locked in as she could be. But if she gets locked in, she's going to make a massive difference for Toowoomba, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah, she had 16 rebounds, like you said, Dan, in that round 1 game versus Cairns. So she's more than capable of being a force on the glass. As Ipswich, long pass to Mate, she finishes strong, and Ipswich takes a 4-2 lead 2 minutes into the game. There's that pressure again. Fountain hands off to Villach, and now to Toowoomba. This is where I think when you beat that first line, you have to be aggressive and attack for Toowoomba. That's when you have that mismatch.
Well, if you don't, it leaves you with 8 seconds on the clock to make something happen, so it's a very late shot clock possession. They get a good shot out of it, but you're right. This press is designed to get steals, but it also really chews up a lot of time on the shot clock.
As Unite with the finish from Johnson. It's a 4-point lead for Ipswich, and Coach Parsons going to take a timeout for Toowoomba. Let's keep it here, though, Dan. Pretty good timeout from Coach Parsons because they're doing some nice things. I think they just need to play with a little more pace, really on both ends of the court. That last one, though, hurts them, giving up an easy transition bucket.
Yeah, and I think that what the Ipswich press does is that it creates those late shot clock type shots, which is usually a miss because it's a rush possession, which then leads to Ipswich on the break. So I think this entire timeout for Toowoomba will be talking about how do we handle this full court pressure. If they can find a way to negate that, it takes away a lot of Ipswich's transition hoop as well.
Yeah, do you agree that you need, if you beat that initial trap, because you see it's a 2-2-1 trap, really.
Yes.
You beat that initial trap, you got to go to the basket, don't you?
Yeah, you have to, but they've kind of beaten it without much structure so far. So I think what they're going to be talking about is, we want this girl coming to the middle, and once you get that, if you get the ball to the middle of a press in the front court, so you beat that first line, the ball's in the middle of the floor, you've got lots of options. If you're trying to mess around, you've got 10 seconds left and it's on the sideline, that's hard to get a good shot out of it. So hopefully they've got a bit of structure because they would have expected our imports out. People are going to press us. So hopefully they spoke about it during the week at practice and they're just reviewing those thoughts tonight in that timeout.
What do you do if you're Toowoomba to make sure that Fountain is able to get a good look without having to do it all on her own?
Well, I think Fountain's going to shoot a really low percentage if she has to create everything. So I guess the challenge is to try and get her into spots where she can catch it and get the ball on the move and be aggressive without having to catch it and take 10, 15 dribbles per possession. So how they do that is up to Coach Parsons, obviously, but here's a good look here.
Good steal, though, by Farley. And here comes Ipswich again. Johnson has it. Nice no-look pass to Maid, who lays it in. Not bad for someone who's about 6'2", 6'3", pushing the ball in transition on offense for Ipswich.
Very skilled.
Fountain in trouble. And there's another turnover. Ipswich looking to attack. There's Head. Good patience inside for Johnson. She's fouled. That foul is going to go against Lisa Salmi. So going to send Johnson to the free throw line for the first time tonight. Johnson on the season, an 88.9% free throw shooter. So Dan, if you foul her, she's been punishing people, putting her on the free throw line.
And it's such a strength when you can shoot the free throw so well. I mean, you play good offense and you get fouled and then you let the team off by missing a couple of foul shots. It's motivating for the defense. But if you go to the line and knock them down regularly, and we jinxed her again, but if you knock them down regularly, it just puts that much pressure on the defense to not foul.
It's an interesting shot she's got. It's quite low, isn't it?
Sure is.
Gabriel wants the screen from Fountain. Working against Head. Good aggressive take there from Gabriel. Can't get it to fall. Johnson pulls it down, and Ipswich has an easy path to the basket. Pass a bit too long. Good passing here. Mate gets called for the travel.
Yeah, and good call. That was certainly a travel, but I mean, better offense for Toowoomba. I think getting the ball into wing on balls is a good look, but like we talk about with juniors, you know, there's a defensive help. Someone goes to the rim, someone has got to get back on D. Can take away that transition basket for Ipswich. Toowoomba lucky that Ipswich didn't score on that possession.
Here's the pressure again, though. Mate gets the steal. Farley, no look inside for Johnson, who finishes. I think Ipswich wants to try and put this one away early, Dan. Nice crossover from Fountain. Doesn't get the friendly roll. One-handed rebound from Velach. Salmi now puts the ball on the deck. Out to Fountain, driving baseline. Layup attempt is good, plus the foul. Bit of friendly fire there also. She collides with Gabriel. But good finish from Fountain and nice creativity. Good dribble drive there and a good dish off for Fountain to be aggressive.
No doubt. I think that's where she's at her best. She's getting stuck a lot in the backcourt trying to help beat this press by taking a lot of dribbles, where if they can find a way, and it's obviously hard, but they can find a way to get the ball into the front court and kind of get her in those positions, she'll be at her most effective.
Can't finish the three-point play, so the lead stays at 7 for Ipswich, 11-4. 5:50 to go. Mazianite with the three. Showing her variety of skills here, taking it outside. And here's where Toowoomba can attack. Good kick ahead for Velach. Wide open along the baseline. Jump shot too strong. Gabriel, though, comes down with it. It's Georgia Bolton. Velach going to fire a jump shot that's short. Johnson with the rebound. And here's Head. Good kick ahead from Mazianite. Back to her point guard. Farley gonna fire the wing three. They're gonna call it a 2. 12 points to lead now for Ipswich. And then we've had this debate over the course of the years. We mentioned Head committing to go to college in the U.S. What's her adjustment period going to be like? And what was your adjustment when you went over to the States to play college ball?
In terms of getting used to the game of basketball?
Well, just in general,
styles.
coming from Australia, moving over to the States, and then having to fit in at a university and learning about a new team, a new culture, a new way of life, really.
I guess
it wasn't that long ago, was it?
It was
only a couple years ago.
It was long ago than I wish it was. It was we're going back. This is 2001. I went for the first time. 2005 I graduated. So 13 years ago, John. Time does go quickly. That's what I've learned. But I think when you move from the Ipswich Force to the Brisbane Capitals, there's an adjustment doing that as well. And I think one of the gifts of going over to the college system is that, like, personally, I played with guys from Macedonia and Serbia and Israel on my college team, Czech Republic. I mean, those guys had to come over and speak a different language and live in a completely different country with different foods, whereas as an Aussie, you go over there, you speak English, the foods are not that different, so the way of life is very similar. And the fact you're on the basketball team means you have instant friends because you've got teammates who you spend the entire day with. So the adjustment period's not that hard. And I mean, depending what school you go to, people love Aussies in America. So your professors, and if you go about it the right way, which I'm sure most people do, and they're positive and happy and energetic and want to enjoy the experience, the American culture is to look after you and make sure you have a good time. So I mean, I would recommend anyone who's got the chance to go to college. And we spoke last week about guys choosing to stay in the Bullets development system rather than go to college, and that's a good option too. But I just think from a life experience, spending a few years living overseas, getting a degree with no student debt is just a wonderful, wonderful experience. So I'm sure that these girls will have a great time, especially at the kind of school that she's committed to.
A good bucket there from Georgia Williams using that pump fake. Lead is out to 14 for Ipswich, 20-6. I'll be very interested to see how Kate Head goes. Kennesaw State is a pretty solid mid-major program, as the pass ahead from Mezanite is a bit too strong, so that's a turnover from Ipswich. Ipswich has gone to the bench here. Georgia Williams checked in. You also have Catherine McGregor in the game, and Talesia Manamaluga also in for the Ipswich force. I like what Ipswich is doing, though, sticking with the imports, Dan. I'm of a firm believer that when you bring in imports, they play minutes and play big minutes.
They have to. I agree.
Blatch's pass is tipped. Foul called on Manamaluga, so Fountain drawing the foul. That's the second team foul on Ipswich. First one on Manamaluga. 3:09 to go. It's a 20-6 game with Toowoomba trailing by 14. It's a good battle inside. Dirksen doing a good job pressuring Johnson on the defensive, or the offensive rebound, I should say.
Yeah, and I think that's Dirksen's strength, and I think both Dirksens tonight and also Josh in the men's game, getting inside and using their length to try and keep balls alive on the offensive glass is going to be very important for both these Toowoomba squads. And just on Fountain too, I mean, I had a quick look during the week after we covered her last week, and she was averaging 15 points a game at Seton Hall a couple of years ago. She can score the ball, and that's where the missing of Washington really hurts. But hopefully they can find ways to get her into a good position to use those strengths.
And a good decision there by Fountain. She saw the double team coming, found Dickerson. So that's the second foul on Talesia Manamaluga. Going to send Dickerson to the free throw line, looks like for 3 shots. Dickerson on the season, though, struggling from the free throw line, only at a 27% clip. On cue, she hit. It was the reverse jinx. What do you know? It works both ways. Second one is a bit strong. Let's see what the third one does here for Dickerson. It's good. So 2 or 3 from Dickerson. Cuts the deficit to 12. 2:45 to go. Gabriel going to check back in. Dickerson getting a breather. And for Ipswich, Loie Webb checks in from Manamaluga, who picked up 2 quick ones. Nice skip pass. McGregor is going to fire the corner 3. It's too strong. Long rebound tipped around. Toowoomba comes down with it. Vlach, short jump shot is good. Good recognition there from Vlach. Cuts the deficit to 10. Nice give and go. Mezanite and Johnson working pretty well together, considering they only have a couple games. I think this is Mezanite's 3rd game for Ipswich so far this season.
Yeah.
Johnson at the free throw line. She's already been at the free throw line twice tonight. These are going to be our 3rd and 4th attempts. Toowoomba hanging around. Doesn't feel like it's a 11-point game after that free throw. Toowoomba doing a pretty good job keeping things pretty tight.
Yeah, I agree. And they feel like they've got more than 10 points. They just had a lot of good shots. A few have missed out, obviously, but you get the feeling that they're not that far off the mark, despite being down 12.
Aggressive defense from Ipswich there. 4th team foul. That one went against Williams. Both teams with 4 team fouls with 2:05 to go in the first quarter. They do drop right, they pressure you, but they drop right back to the man. So not really picking it up at half court, or is Ipswich. Fountain looking for a bit of space. The Euro step is too strong. She felt there was contact. Ipswich has numbers if they push. Nice in and out pass. Too strong, though, from McGregor. Fight for the rebound. Johnson comes down with it for Ipswich. Then she's fouled by Gabriel. That's the 15th foul. Going to send Johnson back to the free throw line for 2 shots. That's the second one on Gabriel too, so looks like Dickerson gonna come back in. I thought it was gonna be Gabriel checking out, but it's gonna be Georgia Bolton getting a breather. First one good from Johnson. She's been pretty impressive so far. First time seeing her in person. She's got to be a solid 6'2", 6'3", Dan.
Yeah.
Moves pretty well
Sure
for
does.
someone who's probably a 5 in this competition.
Yeah, does everything well. Good passer, showing she's got a good handle. And she's going to be a really good player in this league.
Here's that ultra-aggressive press from Toowoomba. Fountain going to fire the wing 3. It's short. Gabriel could not bring it down. Toowoomba, though, winds up with it. Pass inside for Fountain, right at the defense. It doesn't fall, but the foul is going to go against Johnson, and looks like that one's going to be her second personal on Amanda Johnson, putting Fountain at the line for 2 shots. And immediately Coach George goes to the bench. Rachel Mate checks back in, and Johnson gets a breather. And I love that energy, sprinting off the court. Everyone gets a high five. That's leadership to me.
It sure is. I love that too, and it's the opposite of what we've seen from some of the other, like Toowoomba girls when they sub out, and it's just the small things, and really you think it makes no difference at all. But I think in terms of building culture and just the feel around a team in the locker room, that sort of energy is awesome. Completely unselfish, and that's what you want if you're going to be successful.
13 points to lead for Ipswich. We got about a minute to go in the first quarter. Cubitt is fouled inside. That one's going against Lisa Salmi. Toowoomba in the penalty, so it's going to be 2 shots. Cubitt going to go to the free throw line. She hasn't shot many free throws on the season. She's at a 33% clip. I always tell my son just started playing basketball, and the few times he gets to the free throw line, he rushes it, right? Yeah, you can take pretty much as much time as you want when you get to the free throw line. And we saw Cubitt, those were 2 pretty quick ones there. Foul on that play. I like the aggressive play, though. They're doing a good job. They're having success to them, but going over the top of that Ipswich press, and then recognizing they need to push and really attack.
Did you ever see Anthony Stewart play? Cairns Taipans back in the day?
No.
Amazingly good shooter. Played for Hobart, where I was a teammate of his in both Cairns and Hobart. He would, meanwhile, we've got some interesting, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, fellas. We've got some interesting footwork on these foul shots. Obviously doesn't like the straight-on shot.
Yeah, Salmi coming pretty much all the way in the right corner there.
Just effective.
On the second attempt.
Just negating the strong breeze from the left, obviously. Anyway, Anthony Stewart would hold these free throws so long that most of the time defenders would step in and he'd get a second attempt if he missed. I think it was partly just to mess around and have fun with the defense, but you can take as long as you want to shoot that ball.
Good spot there from Fountain, but then Williams comes up with the steal. Right back, and now Ipswich has an opportunity as Mate's pass slips out of her hand. They're going to say it went off with Toowoomba, so Ipswich maintains possession.
Well, that was off Ipswich, but I think it could have been a bit of a pushing foul.
Yeah, Mate definitely wanted it. Fountain talking a lot out there. Mezianite's layup is strong. She rips it out of the hands of Gabriel, gets it back. Ipswich fires the 3 from Williams. That's too strong. And then Fountain fouled by Mate.
I love Fountain's energy.
She's bringing it. She's letting everyone know on the court she's here to play. Her team, though, trailing by 13 with 6.5 to go in the first.
Yeah, and the team foul on that O board. Ipswich in the bonus, as both teams are, gives Fountain a couple of foul shots here. And I think when you're a scorer, and her game last week, first game, she's been here a couple of days. Obviously, hopefully, this week has her feet underneath her a bit more. Get yourself to the foul line, see the ball go in. It doesn't take much to get a scorer going, so let's hope for Toowoomba's sake she can knock this down, brings herself to 7 points, and she can keep it rolling in the second quarter.
Hits them both, so deficit's now 11. Ipswich going to hold for the final shot. Mate has it stolen by Fountain. and then it's restolen, and that's going to be the end of the clock. So Fountain a little disappointed with herself, happy with the steal, disappointed with the outcome, and heading into the quarter time break, it's an 11-point deficit. Pretty solid first quarter of play from both teams. The press from Ipswich, giving them a couple of cheap ones, but other than that, I think Toowoomba's been pretty successful as well.
I agree. It was a good quarter, and I think Ipswich showed their class and showed their depth, if nothing else, and that press has given Toowoomba problems. But the girls from up the hill, the Mountaineers, should be proud of themselves. They're in this game.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back with the second quarter of action here on your QBL Game of the Week, presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia.
And we're back with you here live from Llewellyn Stadium in Ipswich. We are bringing you the game between the Ipswich Force and the Toowoomba Mountaineers. And before we kick off this second quarter, let's just take a moment to give a big shout out to our friends down at Live Sport Australia. Without any of their support, we couldn't be bringing you the stream here today. So if you do need any graphics works, any streaming productions, make sure you go and check them out. Give them a like on Facebook. And anything for live sport across the country, do check out Live Sport Australia.
And we're back to the action here. Toowoomba starts the quarter again with another stop. Let's see if they can get a bucket on the other end. Fountain through the tough defense. That's a tough finish there, Dave. Dan.
Dave.
I'm dreaming of Derwin. I got Derwin on the brain.
I'm leaving. Good call, fellas. Good luck for the rest of the game. I think Fountain has taken that matchup personally, and interesting call coming up here. Good sportsmanship. I mean, sometimes if your team is struggling, or even if you're struggling, it does take just something artificial to get you motivated. So she, for no reason, might be looking at the matchup with mate and just using that to motivate herself. But so far it's working. You know what? Whatever gets you going, as long as it's within the rules and the spirit of the game, then it's all good.
Well, not only is Fountain doing the duty on the offensive end, but she's had pretty much every single tight matchup that you could possibly have. We've seen her match up with Mate. We've seen her match up with Williams. We've seen her match up with Johnson, Mazunita. She's having to do everything out here, and she's putting in 100%, 125% effort.
Sure is.
Fountain going to her left. Floater is too strong. Johnson kicks ahead, though, for Farley. Nice pass to Mate, who finishes strong. Mate is also another player who I've been really impressed with over the years. She made the move over from the Caps to Ipswich last year, and she's really taken on a lot more responsibility. She's been a really consistent player for Ipswich, and she's able to provide a little bit of everything for the Force. I think she's really fit in well here in Ipswich. Fountain, though, jump shot is too strong. But you see Mate, she's a bit of a combo guard. She plays point, she plays off guard.
Yeah,
Just
I thought
really
she did a great job all of last season as well, so good to see her consolidating a really good 2017 with a strong 2018 so far as well.
And good defense there from Valech. Getting the stop on Johnson. Johnson using a few step-through moves, up and unders. Fountain using the dribble to beat the press. 27-16. Ipswich switching on everything. Fountain stops and pops and sees it rattle home. She's having herself a game. Good recovery there from Dickerson, but they're going to get her for the foul. Let's see who they give this one to.
And you can see Coach Parsons with Toowoomba, I think, just looking for ways to get Fountain the ball. So they've got this, 2 or 3 dribble handoff action at the top of the key just to get the ball moving, and it gives Fountain the chance to come off in rhythm rather than just throwing it to her on the wing. Everyone's standing still. She goes against a set defense. It's a really good look from Coach Parsons and Toowoomba just to help her get a good look at the hoop.
Shooting foul there. So Farley goes to the free throw line for a couple. Coach Parsons going to get Fountain a couple of minutes here with her team trailing by 10. Want to let everyone know at halftime we've got a tremendous feature film for you. Matthew Adekpanya, the guard from the Gold Coast Rollers, also a really talented cinematographer and filmmaker. He put together a fantastic package of his good mate, Aaron Baines of the Boston Celtics. Celtics 1 game away from the NBA Finals. We're going to have that feature for you at halftime. Really looking forward to giving you guys a look at this. If you haven't seen it online, it's an amazing piece. Really talented filmmaker is Matthew Adekpanya. So definitely stick around for halftime if you haven't seen the piece. It's amazing, Dan.
So I've got a question for you in a minute, but before I ask it, and the question is, where can I look it up? Because I'm at the stadium, I can't watch it. Where am I going to find that afterwards? And I mean, just on Instagram, I've seen on Aaron Baines' Instagram page, I think, a couple of Matt's videos in the past of them holidaying in Hawaii and different things, and he does an unbelievable job putting those videos together. So if it's even as half as good as those, I'm sure it is, that's going to be well worth watching at the halftime break.
Yeah,
so is it Nothing But Net, Live Sport Australia, Facebook? Where can we find it if we go back during the week?
Well, you definitely can check out the game on the Basketball Queensland YouTube channel. You can watch the game. You can see it at halftime as well. Like an unsportsmanlike foul there on Valach there.
I don't know what happened.
Intentional foul?
They're not
Regan?
I was too busy engaging with what you guys were talking about with the Aaron Baines piece. I didn't see it either.
Yeah, well, it was an unsportsmanlike foul called on Valach there. I didn't see exactly what happened, but
well, no one's complaining about it from Toowoomba, so she must have done something. But no one's that angry from Ipswich, so it can't have been too bad. Or else there'd be some angry teammates, you would think. But anyway, I think rather than focusing on the negative of an unsportsmanlike foul on a Friday night in Ipswich, we should be focusing on the positives of an Aaron Baines piece.
Yeah, it is available on social media, but you can go back and see the video at halftime on the Basketball Queensland YouTube channel of this game. We'll also play it for you in the men's game as well at halftime.
Great.
But this is a tight game here. Ipswich up 12, 7:10 to go. I think Toowoomba's done a pretty good job on Johnson. Head's going to fire the corner 3. That's a long 2. Good hit there from Kate Head. And a good look from Johnson, recognizing the double team and kicking it cross court. Fountain goes right at Head. Jump shot too strong. Good fight for the rebound, and then Johnson's fouled. It's the 4th team foul here on Toowoomba. There's 6:50 to go in the half. Just lost all my notes there, Dan. Have to get them back at some point. Ezinite has it on the wing, gets the handoff to Head, behind the back dribble. Out to Johnson, uses that little hesitation. Strut is too strong. Gabriel with the rebound. Gabriel running the point guard spot. 10 seconds to go on the shot clock. Kicks it out to Fountain on the wing. 3-pointer is off. Here comes Johnson. Another defensive rebound. I feel like she's grabbed nearly every defensive rebound that's come in her cylinder.
It'll be good to see the stats at half time. She's been doing a great job on the glass.
And a great look inside. Maisie Nite finishing with the left hand. And here's that trap. Leads to a steal. Head with the lay-in is good. And I like this from Ipswich. They've struggled a bit in the half court, using that trap to generate some easy, cheap baskets. Pushing the lead out to 18. There's a timeout taken by Toowoomba. We'll take one as well. 5:48 to go in the first half. It's 37-19. Ipswich over Toowoomba in your QBL Game of the Week. Presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia. Back with you here at Ipswich as the Force lead Toowoomba 37-19. Nice little run here from Ipswich, doing it on the defensive end, Dan. Forcing a few turnovers, getting a couple easy buckets. They haven't really been able to fully pull away from Toowoomba. Toowoomba doing a pretty good job hanging around.
Yeah, they are, and the press absolutely makes sense. And as we saw Southwest put it on last week as well, I just wish Toowoomba could find a way to break it, because it just, I don't want to use the word, I just find it cheapens the game. I don't want to use that word necessarily, but it's just frustrating to watch a team struggle to beat a press over and over and over, especially when you know that their ball carrier is out.
There's 6 now, 5 on the shot clock. Dickerson picks up her dribble. Good hesitation and the foul there from Dickerson. Making something out of nothing there. Nice creativity there from Despania Dickerson. Going to the line for a three-point play opportunity.
That's some nice footwork down there.
One shot.
It's the first team foul against Ipswich here in the second quarter. Dickerson can't finish the three-point play. Dan, I got to be honest with you, I didn't even realize, I thought Kate Head was a lot older than she is, as Johnson misses the layup attempt. She's been playing QBL since we've been covering it. She's just finishing Ipswich Grammar this year. Or has just finished Ipswich Grammar. I thought she was already in her, maybe late teens, early 20s even, so.
Well, she must have just finished 2017, heading off to college this year. It's funny, isn't it? Like when I was in grade 10, you were pretty pumped to play in the firsts. She's in grade 10 playing QBL. Very talented player.
Williams misses the three. Johnson comes down with it. Must have been an air ball as there's the shot clock resetting. No look. Maisie Nite jump shot, rattles home. Gee, Johnson, she hasn't put up a lot of points, but she's done a fantastic job on the glass and being creative. Left-handed shot, too strong. Here comes Mate, flipping one up, gets it to fall, plus the foul. That's great use of the body there from Rachel Mate, shielding the ball, creating the contact, and finishing strong.
Yeah, really nice move. And as a defender, it's always bad news when you let someone get into the middle of the paint. If you, as a general rule, if you force on baseline, there's usually help. If they get into the middle, it's hard for your teammates to help you, as we saw then with the N1. But great move offensively.
Mate finishes the three-point play. She's leading all scorers with 12 points now is Rachel Mate. And she nearly gets the steal. It's got to be an 8-second violation there. So there's that pressure again, forcing another turnover on Toowoomba. Score is now doubled up. It's 42-21. Don't forget at halftime, we'll have that Aaron Baines featured film from Gold Coast Rollers guard forward Matthew Adekpanya. So definitely stick around for that one. If you haven't seen it yet, it's an awesome insider's look into the life of Aaron Baines, not just on the court, but off the court as well. As there goes Toowoomba breaking the press, and Dirksen rewards them with an easy layup. But they fall asleep on defense, and Georgia Williams sneaks one home. Mate just a little too aggressive on the defense there. Pressure on the ball, fouls. Kayla Gabriel, it's the second team foul on Ipswich. It's a pretty young lineup Ipswich has here at the moment.
Yep, sure is. But good experience for them as well, and for the most part, they're playing well.
Bolton picks up her dribble. She wanted the handoff. Pass is tipped out of bounds by Maisie Nite. And there's 5 seconds to go on the shot clock. Dickerson checks in. We've got 6 players on the court. Who's coming off? It's going to be Elena Black for Toowoomba. Here comes 5 seconds on the shot clock. Dickerson's going to have to make something happen quickly. Gabriel's going to throw up a deep one that's off the front of the rim. Izzy needs a nice reverse layup. That's a great spin move on the baseline.
That's a tough finish too.
Fountain around the defense, can't finish. And then that's a frustration foul there from Fountain on Georgia Williams. It's the 15th foul on Toowoomba, so Georgia Williams is going to go to the free throw line for a couple shots. (49-23), 2:37 to go in the first half, Dan. The well has dried up for Toowoomba here.
It has. But even despite that, you still get the feeling that they're playing all right. And if there was no scoreboard in the building, you wouldn't guess that they were down 26 odd points. They're actually playing pretty well, but just this constant pressure from Ipswich, I think it just has a compounding effect, and that the longer they leave it on, obviously the harder it becomes, and it just gradually wears down this young Toowoomba team.
Williams hits both of them, so the lead is now 28. Ipswich sticking with the press. Why not? It's working. Good hands there from Georgia Williams. Toowoomba recovers. And there's another 8-second violation.
Just if I was Coach George, I'd be doing the same thing for now, but it's just so hard to watch a team struggle to get the ball over half court every possession.
What are they doing, Dan, or what can they do differently to beat the pressure? Because every now and then they're able to beat it.
Well,
they were doing it. They were going over the top before, and that doesn't seem to be working anymore.
Well, I think when you're running a press break, it is a set offense. The same way that you might run an on-ball pick on the wing or a cross screen in the post. A press breaker should be a set play as well, but this Toowoomba team looks like it's just a make-it-up-as-you-go press breaker, whereas they need a lot more structure, and a structured press breaker will beat a press. And you'll find when they do beat it, as we've seen, they get layups and good looks down the other end, but each time that Ipswich puts the press on, Toowoomba's trying to beat it with a different press breaker, which to me shows they're just making up and the girls are doing their own thing. If they can somehow get some structure to it, they'll find they've got a lot of cheap layups on the other side.
5 team fouls against Toowoomba. Sends Catherine McGregor to the free throw line. She hit the first. Second one rolls in and out. McGregor doing a pretty good job here for Ipswich in her minutes this evening. Fountain going to fire a deep two that rolls off the front of the rim. And here comes Ipswich. Webb tripped out. Like she might have stepped on Fountain's foot there and then tripped over. Ball goes out of bounds, so that's a turnover for Ipswich. Tough pass winds up with Fountain. Dickerson looking inside for Dirksen. Dirksen, though, loses it, goes right to Mate. Mate tripped up.
It's going to get some court burn on those knees. It's a tough fall, but hopefully she's okay.
Yeah, it looks like she's shaking up a little bit, but teammate's going to help her up. She's going to go to the free throw line for a couple of shots. Hope it's just a bit of floor burn, nothing else. That doesn't tickle.
It does not.
Mate goes 1 of 2. Bree Farley going to check back in for Rachel Mate. Farley's the captain. A little over aggressive there from McGregor, gets called for the foul. It's the 4th team foul for Ipswich. Farley's wears that face mask. She's been wearing it ever since I've been covering the competition. I wonder if she's had a broken nose or if she just wears it because she's comfortable wearing it now. Love to find that out. I'll have to see if we can find out what the background on that is.
I think that's a great opportunity for a post-game interview, John.
See if we could get someone up here to chat with us afterwards. McGregor flips one up. She's fouled, though.
I think they've called it on Fountain. I think that's the wrong call. It was definitely a foul, but Should not have been on Fountain. That'll be her third, I think, which is, it's her second. Not too bad.
Yeah, I thought that was her third also. Dan, they may have given it to someone else besides Fountain as McGregor hits the free throw, but you can see from Fountain's body language, probably just a little frustrated at the moment.
Definitely.
Gabriel skips it over to Fountain. She's going to fire a wing three that rolls in. Farley nearly turns it over. Gets it back out to Webb. They work it around. McGregor going to fire a three. That's short. Fountain comes down with it. Thought she might go for a 2-for-1 here.
Well, that's a nice move.
Can't get the finger roll to fall. Jump ball. Possession arrow favors Toowoomba. That was a good, nice Euro step there. Just couldn't get the finger roll to fall.
Yeah.
That's not as easy as that's how it makes it look either.
No, the finish is tough, but I mean, even tougher, that's the footwork to get the length of the floor off a defensive board and get herself a look like that. And she's getting a chance to show her full repertoire tonight.
Don't forget, at halftime, we'll have that Aaron Baines feature film shot by Gold Coast Rollers guard/forward Matthew Adekpanya. We'll get that one for you as soon as we finish up our coverage here of the first half of action. Bit of a chat between the referees and the score bench. The shot clock resets to 14 seconds for Toowoomba. Fountain, good rip move to the baseline, finishes with the layup, and Ipswich will have an opportunity to take the final shot of the half. Little miscommunication there. Cubitt was looking for Farley on the flare. Pass goes out of bounds, and possession goes to Toowoomba for the final shot now. Gabriel gets her feet in the paint, throws up the teardrop, can't get it to bank home. And that's the end of the first half, Dan. It's 58-28, Ipswich up 30 at the halftime break. I've said it a couple times, it doesn't feel like a 30-point game to me, but that just goes to show you Ipswich doing things pretty efficiently, forcing turnovers, putting the ball in the basket. I'd love to see some statistics to see what kind of clip they're shooting at, but it seems like almost everything they're putting up is falling. They're getting to the free throw line, they're hitting their free throw shots, and Toowoomba just at the moment really struggling at times against that pressure and can't really hold on to the ball.
I think you've summarised it really well, John. Toomba's not playing that bad, but just a few turnovers here and there. And Ipswich, on the other hand, shooting the ball really well, at least to the score that we're seeing. But anyone checking out the live stats will go, geez, Toomba's getting blown out. When watching the game, it feels a lot closer than what it is.
Well, that's going to do it for us here in the first half of action. We'll see if we can come back with some statistics for you before we come back with the live action. But now I want to introduce to you the Aaron Baines feature film shot and filmed by Matthew Adekpanya of the Gold Coast Rollers. Everyone, please check it out. It's a great film, and here it is for you now.
The best part about coming home is getting to see the family. No matter what happens in the game, the young fella's just excited to see Dad, and usually the missus is pretty excited to see me as well. So, you know, we definitely enjoy spending time together and just getting to play with the young fella as much as I can. She's pretty much a single mum most of the year because I'm away so often, but when I am home, I try and be fully engaged with them. Thankful that my job, I don't have to take it home with me for the most part, and yeah, they're the best distraction in the world for me to get away from it.
Just going in now, we got to start off with the promo just around the corner at the Museum of Science, and then I'm going to head into the facility, get a bit of a lift, put some shots up, and then do some rehab afterwards, some recovery and massage. There's a day of creating and playing at the Museum of Science. Due to their efforts of recycling over 7,000 bottles as a class, they managed to do that number of bottles within 10 days.
For game days, I usually have brekkie and lunch at home. Both meals try and keep a bit on the lighter side, but a bit more carbohydrates than I normally would on an off day. And then afterwards, I go and have a nap. TD Garden's an awesome place to play. The fans in Boston are so basketball savvy that they know when to get loud and just makes for a great environment. I'm thankful to be in the NBA. At the end of the day, I'm so lucky to be able to do what I do as a job, and every time I get to step out on the court, I try and make the most of it, and you have to be ready every single time because everyone you're playing against are the best athletes in the world, they're the best at what they do. And so there's no games that you can take lightly, and that's showing that team can beat another team on any given night. So that's what makes basketball such a fun sport as well. It's one of those things that it's the culmination of everything behind the scenes that allows us to go out there and play, and without that, then we wouldn't be able to do what we do. There's a lot of people that we have to thank night in, night out that just aren't seen by the regular fan. We play for the Boston Celtics, who have the most storied history in the NBA. It's all about banners here, so we're chasing banner 18 this year, and that's what we aim for every time we step out on the court.
throw to you. Back with you here at Ipswich as the Ipswich Forest lead the Toowoomba Mountaineers 58-28. Thanks again to Matthew Adekpanya for allowing us to share that amazing Aaron Baines piece that he put together. Dan, I know you were watching it on your phone. It was pretty impressive production there from Matt. Does a fantastic job.
He does an incredible job, and I mean, very talented basketballer, but I'm sure if he ever wanted to move into cinematography, there would be a career there. His work is super professional and great to watch, so awesome that we could share it tonight.
We're taking a look at the halftime statistics, Dan. You look at percentage-wise, both teams are at similar percentages. I think what's hurting Toowoomba, and you can see it there in the statistics, is the turnovers, and Ipswich doing a good job forcing them, but also capitalizing and scoring on those second chance opportunities.
Well, you're right, and a couple of things stand out. 13 turnovers for Toowoomba, which actually feels low. Having watched the game, you would expect it to be a little bit higher, but they're getting smashed on the glass. Ipswich is a +10. But if you look at the field goal percentages, you'd think Ipswich with 8 turnovers, Toowoomba with 13, but they've taken almost the same amount of shots, 34 for Ipswich, 32 for Toowoomba, but Toowoomba shooting at 30%, Ipswich above 50 at almost 53%. And I mean, Fountain stepped up and scored 16 of her team's 28 points, which has also taken 19 of their 32 shots. So she's on track for a 40 field goal attempt game. That is impressive.
Yeah, and you had a couple of weeks ago, Bozeman from Toowoomba dropped nearly 50 on about half of those shots, about 20-some shots, I think. So just goes to show you a tale of a couple of games, but Toowoomba beat.
It shows to go that you have to get the ball to the foul line. I think when you're not shooting great, they've taken 13 foul shots. Ipswich has 23. And that's largely the difference in the scoreline. If Toowoomba can find a way to beat this press and get themselves some foul shots, it'll just help their scoreline tick over a lot quicker.
Johnson.
Taylor was talking some trash and just had her ankle broke. Oh my goodness.
Toowoomba is having fun out there. You know, you can't take that away from them. Down 30, they're still having a lot of fun. As you see Fountain get to the rim, she's fouled on her way to the bucket. Good aggressive take though, and very similar start to both halves in the first half. Excuse me, both quarters in the first half. Toowoomba gets a stop and then gets into the paint. They just need to do it a little more often.
Yeah, it's the consistency that's the challenge.
Fountain, the leading scorer in the game so far at 16 points. Rachel Mate leading Ipswich with 14. But there, you can see on the scoreboard, Dan, you only have 5 players in the scoreboard for Toowoomba. And it's far and away Fountain with 18 now. The second leading scorer for Ipswich is Despina Dickerson. She's got 7. And then everyone else has 2 and 1. As Mizunite gets inside. Gigi with another bucket. She's been really nice player as well, Dan. And
she has.
Well, looking at Ipswich, they're 4-0 at the moment. Looking more and more like they're going to move to 5-0. We've seen a couple of the top teams in the competition through our rounds of coverage as well. We saw Southwest, obviously, a few times, who also undefeated at this point in the season. We saw Cairns. Where does this Ipswich team sit for you and the teams that we've covered so far this early season?
Well, it always comes down to matchups, obviously, with the different teams. And the one thing that stands out for me is we see a jump ball as the ball gets stuck up on the rim. But Fountain was feeling good, but didn't quite get up. That would have been amazing if she could tap that out. But, I mean, Ipswich moved the ball really well, and they don't have one player that's going to come in and put up 25 a night. It's definitely a team effort, but they share the ball gets moved from side to side, makes it very hard to guard them. So if that's a style of play that they can generate on offense all season, coupled with this tough defense that they play, although with all respect, seeing them play against Toowoomba might make their defense look a bit tougher than it would against other teams, but at the same time, a good defensive team that moves the ball on offense is going to be a tough out for anybody. So they had a playoff taste last year, and I'm sure they want to go even further this year.
They have to get a shot off Toowoomba. Shot's blocked by Johnson, and a great skip-ahead pass. Farley gets it back from Johnson and lays it in. And that's just unselfish play there. Both Farley or Johnson probably could have finished there. Fountain was triple teamed, so Toowoomba has to find someone open. It's Valach, and she finishes. Good ball movement there from Toowoomba. beating the pressure.
And it just shows when you beat the press with a pass like we saw them, there are layups to be had. It's when Toowoomba try and beat it with the dribble and the head goes down and they take 5 or 6 dribbles in the backcourt. That's when Ipswich is forcing turnovers.
And here comes Toowoomba again. Dickerson's pass inside for Fountain.
That's a great catch and finish.
Great catch, great move. Fountain doing a lot of talking there for being down by 28, but she's having herself a pretty good game here. She catches it with Kate Head was all over her.
Well, she's shooting 30% from the field, down 30. So, but in saying that, she's a competitor and she's competing hard on every possession. So if she wants to talk a bit and that gets her going, then keep talking.
Lost the ball there. Tie up, jump ball, possession arrow favors Ipswich. Don't mind the energy there from Fountain. Georgia Williams checks in for Bree Farley. It's an interchangeable lineup also that Ipswich has. They have talented guards in Head, Williams, Mate, Farley. As you see, Head getting it to roll. That was a nice little finish there with the left hand. But they're a really interesting lineup as Fountain's fouled. That one's going to go on Rachel. I thought they gave it to May. I think they gave that one to Williams. But they can throw out some interesting pieces. You look at Mate coming. You have Williams coming off the bench, who's a really talented player. Mate at Farley. Wonder what the commitment from Kate Head, when she'll have to head over to the States. As you see Johnson hitting the deck. She's all right. Wincing a bit there, but she'll come up. Might have got winded there or something. She's going to try and walk it off. But Ipswich is a really interesting lineup. It is hard to gauge them. We haven't seen some of the more talented teams like a Townsville or a Rockhampton or a Mackay come down here just yet. But from what we've seen, I mean, probably the best team that we've seen so far, and one of the favorites heading into the season certainly is Southwest. How would you compare an Ipswich to a Southwest and what you've seen from the Pirates women's team?
That's such a tough question to answer, and that they both are really talented teams that play a really good brand of basketball. But if they were going to play tonight for a one-game win-it-all matchup, that's I don't know. That's a good defense, good offense. That's a tough call. I don't envy the ref having to make a decision on that one. I just think Southwest, when it comes down to playoff basketball, their experience with Mella and Nat Taylor and some of the other girls they've got, I just think experience wins out most of the time. But I think Townsville are going to be very good. Some of the other northern teams are going to be very good, and obviously Southwest, Ipswich. There's some really good teams down here in the south as well. So that's what makes the QBL so exciting. It's not an obvious top 2 or 3 at this point. There's a lot of teams that are going to be tough to beat.
Good force of a turnover there from the Mountaineers. Gabriel's shot blocked, though, by Mazianite. It was a good idea, just unable to execute from Gabriel. Williams stops and is fouled hard by Fountain. And then Johnson getting into it also with Fountain. Fountain doing a lot of talking. That was a hard foul on Georgia Williams.
Fountain's going to be talking from the bench for most of the rest of this quarter.
It's a 4th personal. Yeah, we saw Fountain in the first half chatting away also to Georgia Williams. I like Williams, though. No response, just getting about her business. Going to go to the free throw line for a couple of shots. Her team's up 30. And she hits the first. Williams hits them both. Pass stolen by Johnson. She read that one from a mile away. Lays it in. And Ipswich putting that force press back on. Nice baseball pass, though.
Great pass. I mean, Taylor has got some real natural skills, athletic, and that pass is a very tough pass to make. And with Fountain out, they're going to need her to exert herself and bring that energy. Because with Fountain out, Washington obviously not here tonight. This is the kind of period in the game where this lead could blow out a little bit for Ipswich.
Well, it's a 34-point lead for Ipswich. There's a timeout on the floor. We'll take one as well. 6:10 to go in the third quarter. 68-34, Ipswich over Toowoomba in your QBL Game of the Week, presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia. Back with you here at Ipswich. It's a 68-34 lead for Ipswich over the Toowoomba Mountaineers. Dirkson's at the free throw line for a couple shots, hits the first one. Second one, though, is short. Who's been the standout for you in the game so far, Dan?
Another good question, John. It's been a real team effort. I think Johnson, we see shooting the ball here, has been really good, but I think Rachel Mate's been great. In patches, Farley's been good, but it's just a real classic team effort from Toowoomba. Ipswich. They've all chipped in.
Velach hits the jump shot, and you mentioned before the break she probably needs to step up with Fountain on the free throw on the bench, I should say. Interesting, you know, we said that we thought Toowoomba might play a bit of zone. We haven't seen much zone out of them tonight.
We haven't. We saw a little bit to end the first half, but not much. A few minutes only. It might be worth giving it another look.
Yeah, Johnson, like we said in the pregame, two-time Player of the Week. As Gabriel's floater banks home. Good finish there from Gabriel. And she's just been pretty impressive, though, Johnson. Doing a little bit of everything. Might not have the most points, but you got to like that out of, you know, probably one of the top players for Ipswich. Not really forcing anything, taking what the defense gives her. It's a good move, just can't finish from Johnson.
Yeah, just good, unselfish, high-skilled player.
Doesn't want to foul there as Velach stop pop is too strong. Rebound is knocked out of bounds off the hands of Georgia Williams, so it's going to stay with Toowoomba. McGregor and Farley check back in. Johnson and Mate going to get a breather. Dirksen, left-hand shot, rolls home. She's a lefty. That's a good finish there from Emily Dirksen. This is the interesting thing for me, Dan, and hopefully you could shed a bit of light on it, but when you see Fountain on the court, she does so many things. She's a really talented player, but it seems as though Toowoomba kind of relies on her, right? So they force everything to get something for Fountain. Then you see when she's off the court, other players touching the ball, a little better ball movement. How do you integrate a Fountain into that style of play? Because to me, that's when Toowoomba has looked their best, when they're moving the ball, getting the ball through some hands, and then attacking the gaps.
Well, Toowoomba have to play like Ipswich is playing, which is team basketball, moving. On most Ipswich possessions, there's 2 or 3 ball reversals, and that's what Toowoomba are going to have to start to do.
How about that?
And Fountain, with a high basketball IQ, hopefully, if she's on the sideline watching, then she should see that that's where they're at their best, and she should encourage that as well. Sometimes when you know you're the best player, you let the ball stick. I mean, going back to the halftime stats, Toowoomba had 32 shots, 19 of which came from one player. So that leaves 13 shots for the other, 7, 8 girls. Obviously, that's not a great style of basketball.
Well, you can't. I mean, we can't put that all on Valentine.
No, you can't.
On Fountain. I don't know why I have Valentine in my head. Fountain, because the girls were deferring to her as well.
She has to take the shot. Yeah.
So they almost her teammates are almost forcing it on her. So Coach Parsons has to embed it in the team's head that we have to move the ball. We have to have trust in each other. Because you see Velach, she's pretty talented. We've seen some good plays from Gabriel and Dickerson. So they have to integrate themselves into the offense and spread the love a bit. And
let's not forget, too, that they would have had most of their offense built around Washington running the point. She's not here, so they've had to go and try and find a new style of play in 2 practices probably this week. And so it's going to take them a while to find a style that suits Fountain, but also allows these other girls to get involved as well. So that might be a work in progress for Toowoomba.
And just before that timeout, we saw Catherine McGregor with another 3. She's got a really nice jump shot. We've seen her hit a few tonight. Really quick release as well for a young player. That's really impressive. Foul is going to go against Iris Cubit. Dickerson got herself into a really tough spot there. Referees bailed her out with that call. So Dickerson going to go to the free throw line for a couple shots. Don't forget, we'll have the men's game for you just after this one. Hopefully we might get an opportunity to chat with one of the Ipswich Force players or coaches after the game. Nice pass. Cubit a little too strong. She got a great position. Just, I think she misread where she was in regards to the basket. There's 8 on the shot clock. Velach going to fire a long 2. That's too strong. McGregor gets the rebound. She's going to push. Tries to dump it off, but they're going to get Dickerson for the foul. It's a reach-in foul against Despania Dickerson. It's the second team foul, though, against Toowoomba, while Ipswich in the penalty with 2:44 to go in the third.
Substitution for Ipswich, checking into the game.
Majanite checks back in. Farley finds Williams. She'll fire the 3. That's good from Georgia Williams. Lead out to 32 with 2:30 to go. Gabriel's pass is stolen by Majanite. They kick ahead for Georgia Williams, who's fouled from behind by Velach. It's going to be 2 shots for Georgia Williams. That's Taylor Velach's 4th personal as well. So the foul count not helping Toowoomba at all here as they down 32.
I mean, they're down 32. That doesn't sound great when you put it like that, but when they were down 30 at the half, this has been a much better performance in the third quarter from Toowoomba.
Williams hits them both. Where's the offense come from now, though? Velach is out. Fountain's out. You got to think it's going to go through. They're probably going to want to get Dirksen at least a touch on nearly every possession here, or hope that one of the guards, Gabriel or Dickerson, can create something.
Well, I think this offense that we're seeing a couple of ball reversals and then maybe run into an on-ball pick to get these guards feet in the paint. I mean, kind of like what we just saw. That's what they're going to have to do, and hopefully there's a couple of laps to be had or a couple of foul shots they can earn to keep the scoreboard ticking over for the last couple of minutes here.
Majanite, nice move. Can't finish, though. Too strong. Great position. Good drop step there, but just a bit too strong on the layup attempt. Dickerson has it now with there's 6 seconds to go. Pass inside from Bolton is too strong. That's a turnover.
That's the right idea though, John. A bit of ball movement, a couple of reversals, try and dump it inside to a post. So that's good offense. It's just disappointing that they obviously let the ball bounce out of bounds, but I mean, those are positive signs for Toowoomba.
Farley has it. Mezianite is going to fire a deep three that's short. Dickerson looking to push the pace here. Gabriel lucky she didn't get called for the travel there. Gets inside, blocked there by Williams, and then a foul. Good sportsmanship though, Gabriel. Going to check in with Georgia Williams. That's 4 team fouls against Toowoomba now in the third. We've got a minute to go in the third quarter. Actually, it's the 5th, so Georgia Williams going to go to the free throw line for a pair of shots. Elena Black checks in for Toowoomba. Dirksen gets a breather. Williams doing a pretty good job from the free throw line tonight. She's been a great addition for the Force as well. Really just a solid player. Really, really not a weakness to any aspect of her game.
It's the exact word I was going to use before you said. I was about to jump in and say she's just really solid and that she does everything well. Nothing amazingly great, but everything at a really high level. And I mean, those are the sort of players that you want to rely on come playoff basketball.
There's 8 on the shot clock. Gabriel has it for Toowoomba.
This is good defense from Ipswich, really making it hard for Toowoomba to get anything easy.
Yeah, Salme's shot is too strong. Farley looking for the 2-for-1 opportunity. Williams going to fire a long 2. Mezianite with the offensive rebound. Blocked from behind is Farley by Gabriel. There's 10 on the shot clock now. Williams has it for Ipswich. Gets the Farley screen, gets inside, a lot of contact, and there's the whistle.
What you don't like is when you're down 30 and the entire bench starts complaining about all the foul calls. It's just not a good look. And there was obviously contact there.
A lot of contact for sure. Looked like, I think what Toowoomba is upset with, they want one of those calls at least, but she was late. It was a good call. I don't mind that one.
I think it was the right call too.
Williams is now up to 15 points. She's actually the leading scorer for Ipswich now. Make it 16. Look at that scoreboard for Ipswich. They've got 5 players in double figures. Just goes to show you the balanced attack for the Force. Nice offensive rebound there from Gabriel. A lot of contact. She flips it up. It's off. And that's the end of the third quarter. Heading into the break, it's a 79-42 lead for Ipswich over Toowoomba. We'll take a break. We'll come back with that fourth quarter of action. Our new QBL Game of the Week presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia.
We're back with you live here at Llewellyn Stadium out in Ipswich. It is the Force taking on the Mountaineers. And before we kick off this fourth quarter, just want to do a big shout out to one of our sponsors, the Australian Sports Network. They're bringing live sports streaming online, and they've got amazing graphic systems. Everything that you see on the screens here tonight, graphics-wise, is all done by the amazing team down in Sydney. So if there is anything that you need at all, hit James Bowman up at the Australian Sports Network. Like them on Facebook, check them out, give them support, and check out their pages.
What a pass there by Johnson. She's been impressive tonight. She hasn't been looking to score the ball, really being creative and creating opportunities for her teammates.
I think the challenge looking at the Ipswich team is, you're right, she's been great, but I mean, can she guard the, Steph Bairstow and the Darcy Garvins of the world? That's where they're going to be tested, I think. Speaking of Darcy Garvin, her sister has been dominating in the Suncorp Super Netball League for Sydney. What an impressive family.
Let's hope that Darcy doesn't change from basketball to netball, much like we see
Tom Fullerton.
Fullerton, yeah.
From basketball to Aussie rules. I've got to say, I support that move. As much as you hate to see him gone from basketball, I think from the ability to get into the AFL system and what that could lead to is wonderful for him. So congratulations on making what I'm sure is a very tough decision.
Yeah, I mean, I never realized how talented an AFL player he was, to be honest with you. He played in some Queensland teams and I think he made an Australian team as well. So, and I'm talking AFL, not basketball. He certainly was in the Queensland team and in an Australian basketball team as well. You gotta imagine the money in the AFL probably a little bit better than an NBL development deal.
I think that is the understatement of the year. But wish him all the best. It's going to hurt the Phoenix and the QBL, but it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to watching him. Archie Smith as well, who obviously from basketball made the move to skip college and go to the AFL, is also doing great. So the Lions are worth following if you're a basketball supporter in Southeast Queensland.
Yeah, well, I know we quite often would see Archie at the Bullets games as well. He's still following the sport. He still loves it, just getting paid to play a different one. Dickerson blocked there by Johnson. She saves it from going out of bounds. Toowoomba can't capitalize though. Then Mezzunite throws it out of bounds.
At what point, John, do you bring Fountain back in? I know she's got 4 fouls. The game's out of reach. I'd almost sub her back in now and just let her hoop. And if she fouls out, she fouls out. But just to see if she's capable of playing with fouls, because nice move from Emily Dirksen. But like the good players, if you're in a tight game, they know how to play with foul trouble.
I'm shocked she's not on the floor now, to be honest with you.
I'm with you.
They're down 37 points. Is it something where maybe, because you're down so much, you don't play her?
I just think Coach Parsons might have so focused on coaching these girls on the court, might have forgotten she was sitting behind her. But I mean, I'd be subbing her in a couple of possessions ago.
If you're a Fountain, you'd speak up and say, Coach, get me in.
Yep.
Get me in this game.
If that was me back in the day, I'd just walk to the score bench, sub myself in.
Nice pass there from Johnson to Mezzunite, finishing as well. We talked about this before with you on air, Dan. What about coaching for you? I know it's something we've talked about off air as well, that you might be interested in it. What are your thoughts? Are you still interested in it? I know it's a time thing, and is it something though that you think if you had the time that you would pursue?
I would love to coach basketball at a number of different levels for different reasons, and I guess it's funny, I left Brisbane when I was 17 and went to the States and then played in the Seaball for Hobart and Geelong and played in Cairns and Wollongong in the NBL. And so no one in Brisbane really knows anything about what I did as a player, which is fine, doesn't bother me. But I guess maybe my name is not out there when people are looking for coaches, but I would love to coach. And there's good defense here by Toowoomba, just continuing to work really hard and rewarding themselves with 2 foul shots here. But I'll definitely coach. At the moment, though, I've got a couple of young kids. I've got a business which is really busy, but I'll be making changes in my business which will free up some time. And at some stage, I would love to coach, and I'm sure I'd be very good at it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. Would you consider coaching in the women's game?
It's funny, I spoke to Mark Worthington very briefly about that last year. And in the men, like for example, we've got obviously a men's game coming up tonight. And if Toowoomba really gets stuck, you can probably throw the ball to Bozeman, or if Ipswich gets stuck, you can just give it to Harvey. As Gabrielle continues to just play great up the court defense here. And the men can just go and create something, whereas in the women's game, that's much harder to do. So Wertho was saying that it makes you into a better X's and O's coach because you can't just have an athlete that can just go create often. Some girls can, like Arja at Spartans does that, but it's rare. So the women's game, I think, fine-tunes your X's and O's ability as a coach. But the men's game would be more of an attraction for me.
Have you done any coaching previously?
I have done bits and pieces. I've coached in each of the cities I've played in. I coached Hobart College back in the day for their state championships, and I've done a lot of individual coaching. I haven't coached a team for a few years, but I'm across the game and watch a lot of different basketball, QBL, NCAA ball, WNBA, NBA. I'm sure that if the right system was there and someone wanted me to coach, I could contribute.
Yeah, well, coaches, associations, you let me know when you're ready, and I'll give you Dan's number. Get in touch. And when you're ready, Dan, we'll make sure it happens.
I feel like Mark Jackson. I'm in the broadcast booth with this high-profile media gig that you've gifted me with.
Very high profile.
Trying to interview for coaching jobs as well. It's quite exciting.
Well, you could have put your name in the hat for the next job, just like Mark Jackson does every time it comes up, because it does seem to come up quite often.
It does come up. I don't think it'll come up again for a while now, though.
Let's hope so.
Your boy Fizdale's there, and I think he's a great choice for them. But
I hope so. They need a lot more than a coach. That's the only problem.
I know.
But him getting there and hopefully setting the kind of culture that you want in a team. Needless to say about his X's and O's and his ability to relate to players. Because the reality is, Dan, I mean, you can be the greatest coach in the world, but if you can't manage your relationship with the players, it doesn't matter how great of an X's and O's coach you are. And I think, and to me, you know, it kind of touches on something that you were talking about there in the sense of X's and O's is definitely a part of it, but I think the game now and the player now, it's more about the relationship you have and being able to use that relationship to get the best out of a player. Whether that's X's and O's, I think that is probably less of importance in today's game.
I agree 100%. That's why, to use an extreme example, Brad Stevens in the Celtics is so well regarded because he's obviously a guru X's and O's wise, the plays he draws up. But if you read and listen to the different articles about him and of his players, even when he was back at Butler, and you listen to coaches who go and watch his practices in America. I mean, the Yukon guys went and watched him, and they walked away just raving about his connection with the players and the relationship. And even at the QBL level, X's and O's is important, but it's the relationship and the personnel management that is the key.
Yeah, there was a foul on that one. That one went on to Fountain, so she's fouled out now. There's a timeout on the floor. We'll take one as well. We'll talk coaching when we come back. 4:40 to go, 85-51. Ipswich over Toowoomba in your QBL Game of the Week, presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia. Back with you here at Llewellyn Stadium. 4:39 to go in the game. Ipswich up 34, 85-51 over Toowoomba. We will have the men's game coming up for you shortly after this one. Men's game should be a pretty good one as well. Toowoomba had some decent moments. They started the game really well last week in the men's game versus Southwest, and they finished strong. It was just that middle portion where they let themselves down and the game got away from them.
No doubt. Should be a great match coming up, and I'm interested to see how Toowoomba come out this week.
And Ipswich, the men coming in on a 2-game winning streak, playing with a lot of confidence coming back home. So you expect them to have a big game. Foul off the ball. That one went on Georgia Williams. It's her second personal. Gabriel stops, pops, and gets it to roll home. She's been probably one of the best players for Toowoomba. Gabriel?
She's been impressive. I've been really, I admire how she's gone about her business tonight.
Janite hits another 3, though. Kayla Gabriel. She struggled a bit in the game that we covered last week versus Southwest. Had some good moments, but seems to be a little more aggressive and a little more composed tonight. Dickerson, though, turns it over.
Well, she'll be the main beneficiary, you would think, of Melina Washington's very unfortunate injury. Just more responsibility, and sometimes that's all that someone needs to really step up, just when you know the team really relies on you.
Yeah, it was a really nice steal and finish there from head as Valach fouled there by Cubitt. I know you love watching the NCAA basketball, Dan. Where do you you see someone like Head, and again, it's a hard comparison, but when you enter into the college game, you kind of just have to come in and work hard and earn your spot, don't you? It's nothing. Even though you're on a scholarship and you're going there, and your education's being covered, you still have to earn your spot.
No doubt, and it's not uncommon for someone to not really play minutes until they become a junior or a senior, which means for anyone who's not familiar with the classes and how it works, it means your first 2 years you sit on the bench and you're usually behind a girl who's in her 3rd or 4th year in the program. And so going to college is one thing, but earning minutes is obviously the next challenge. But the other good thing is that the weight room's open 24 hours a day. The gym to go and shoot hoops is open. They'll have a shooting machine or a coach will rebound for you, so there is no excuse not to put in the work, and I'm sure she will, and she'll have a really good 4 years there.
That's a great finish on the other end by Gabriel there. As Unite gets inside, finishes with the left hand. And I'll be very. I love the NCAA basketball. That's where I prefer the NCAA to the NBA. And I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but I just find it's more of a true game of basketball. Well, and I'll definitely be following Kate Head because I just love watching it.
I think the best athletes in the world play in the NBA, which is why it's so great to watch. But if you're a basketball purist, then the NCAA is, I think, that's the purest form of high-quality strategic basketball you'll find anywhere in the world.
And I think, from a hoops level, as Georgia Williams fouls Gabriel going to go to the free throw line for a couple shots. But I think if you had to compare the QBL, it's interesting. I would compare it to an NCAA type of competition, but I find that a lot of the clubs run more of a pro-style offense and defense as well. I think you see a bit more zone, though. Obviously, the NBA, you don't see as much zone. The QBL and the NCAA, you definitely see a lot more zone defense.
Well, most coaches here probably watch the NBA, and so they just mimic sets and styles that they watch on the TV. I'm not sure how many of the coaches in the league watch. I'll word it differently. If these coaches had the choice of watching Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Portland Trailblazers, or they had a choice of watching, Illinois State versus Purdue, which game are they going to choose? Most of the time, we choose the NBA. It's more entertaining, but from a skill set and a basketball X's and O's, I'd be watching the NCAA.
Great dish inside. Good block, though, by Dirksen. Another block there by Dirksen, so 2 in a row. I'm hoping to get to the States hopefully in November. I haven't seen an NCAA game live in a few years, so hopefully if I get there when I'm hoping to get there, my beloved Monmouth Hawks will be in action, and I'll get to go see the old Fly Hawks.
Would be awesome.
Timeout taken on the floor, though. Minute 10 to go. We'll take a quick one. We'll come back for the final 70 seconds of this game. It's 94-59, Ipswich over Toowoomba in your QBL Game of the Week, presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia. Back with you here at Llewellyn Stadium. Minute 10 to go in this women's matchup. Ipswich going to pick up another win. They'll remain undefeated as they sit near the top of the ladder in the QBL competition. Toowoomba remaining competitive throughout this game. They just weren't able to close the gap. See a few of the Ipswich youngsters out on the court. You've got Emily Tejada, Cassandra Poulain as well out on the floor, missing that jump shot. The latch going to fire a long one. That's no good. But we will have the men's game coming up for you shortly after this one. We might be, hopefully we'll get one of the Ipswich Forest players to come have a chat with us after this one. Really would love to have a chat with Kate Head to see where she's at as far as the QBL competition goes, and where her head's at heading into the college season as well. Just trying to see if I could get the out-of-town scoreboard up, because there's a couple other games tonight with Basketball Queensland awards on tomorrow night. It's a short round, so you only have the 3 matchups this evening. Can't get it on my phone, unfortunately.
For the other games on the out-of-town scoreboard, it looks like Rockhampton Cyclones 107 beat Port City Power on, sorry as I fix up my clock, 67. And the Cairns Dolphins 71 went down to the Townsville Flames on 100.
Wow. Townsville laying the smackdown on Cairns. You surprised about that one? Cairns actually made the odd move to add a second import as Ipswich picks up the win. The final score will be 94-59. Impressive performance from Ipswich. They would have known they were coming into this game as the favorites. Never really seemed to take their foot off the pedal and use their depth to really just grind Toowoomba away. They let Toowoomba hang around a bit in that first quarter, but pretty much from the second quarter on, it was all Ipswich.
It was a clinical performance, wasn't it, really? Nothing that stood out. Not one player that stood out, but just from the first girl to the last girl on the bench, they all contributed. And each time they made a sub, Coach George's players stepped in and they played the same style of basketball. There wasn't much of a drop-off when they went to the bench, and that's really encouraging for them.
And for Toowoomba, they had their moments, but like we said, they're going to struggle without Washington. I thought Fountain was good at times. The player who stood out for me, though, for Toowoomba, like we said, was Kayla Gabriel. She was a different player than what we saw last week versus Southwest. It's just tough for Toowoomba at the moment. They just don't have the depth of the teams that they're playing against, and they struggled a bit at times. They did some nice things. I thought their energy and their effort was there consistently across the entire 4 quarters. But when you're really dependent on one particular player in the game of basketball, you're going to struggle.
I agree.
We'll see if I could get Regan to run through some statistics, and I'll see if we could get one of the Ipswich Forest players to join us for a quick chat before we bring you this men's game.
Yeah, so just loading up the statistics now, starting with the Toowoomba Mountaineers. The Mountaineers were led by Fountain, scoring 20, even though she did foul out. She also had almost a double-double to her name with 9 rebounds, 7 of those being defensive. as the guy said earlier on, really working hard down the defensive end. Dickerson ended on a really strong 10 points as well, with Velach and Dirksen ending on 8 apiece as well. 6 coming from Gabriel after that really great performance as well. And a big call out to Gabriel as well, getting 7 boards. Jumping up to Ipswich Force, they were led by Mazianite on 22 points. Again, almost pulling a double-double with 9 rebounds as well. Following her was Williams scoring a whopping 18 points as well, coming off the bench with 24 minutes. So really, really impressive effort out of her as well. McGregor got 12, Mate on 14, Johnson on 11, and also pulling 10 assists and 16 rebounds. So Johnson having a triple-double with a really, really great performance there. And all-round really great job from the Ipswich Force. We'll pause with you shortly, guys, as we try and grab one of the girls from the Ipswich Force to come up and have a bit of a chat to us. But don't forget that we do have your games next week as well. So we do hope that you stick around for us to watch the men's game between the Ipswich Force and the Toowoomba Mountaineers. But if you are not sticking around, do make sure you check out the next game. It's on the screen now. It is the Brisbane Capitals taking on the Sunshine Coast Rip City. The women from 5 p.m. and the men from 7 p.m. That is a Saturday game on June the 2nd. So hold with us, guys. We'll try and get some from the Ipswich Force, and we'll be back with you shortly. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. We do have someone from the Ipswich Force come and have a chat with us shortly. They're just having a quick team debrief down in the locker rooms, but someone will be shortly. So if you are still tuned in and you are going to be watching the men's game as well, hang around. We will have an interview for you shortly.
Back with you here at Live Sport Australia, Nothing But Net Media. We're joined by Ipswich Forest guard Kate Head. Kate, thanks so much for joining us. Regan forgot to turn your mic up, so
Rookie error.
we'll blame Regan. You're all good now.
All
hey,
good.
great win. You guys are still undefeated. How'd it feel out there? I know it was a tough game, but you guys played well all 4 quarters.
Yeah, getting this win and going through undefeated is definitely like a good feeling, and like scrappy in patches, but that's kind of what happens. But we're just really happy with how we're going this season, and we think from here still building, still going, so it'll be good.
You guys have a lot of talent. You're coming in off the bench. How do you see your role for the Force this season?
Well, our imports are definitely like got some value to them. AJ and G, they've been doing wonders for us. They've been amazing. And Bree Farley, she's been leading us incredibly like whole season and seasons before. She knows what she's doing. She's experienced. She's been amazing. And just my role, I think, especially like defensively, just giving everything, containing everything. And I think every one of us here, they really feel like as long as everyone puts in 100% effort, then we're going to keep getting these wins and stay undefeated. So.
I know Dan and I were talking through the game. You recently committed to college. How do you feel? You must be pretty excited about that as well.
Yeah, that was so cool. I committed in a couple months ago and to Kennesaw State University in Atlanta, and I go there at the start of August, and I'm really excited for that. Yeah.
All right. How did that come about?
I played in America last April, and they scouted me there.
All right. Do you know much about Kennesaw? Have you been there to see?
Yeah.
And
I visited about another couple months ago, about that. And visiting was amazing. It was so good. And I met the team, I met everyone, and it was such a good experience, and I'm really excited about it.
all right.
Yeah.
Dan, I know you have a few questions.
Well, I was wondering, you're doing such a great job running the conversation. I was wondering if I was going to get a look in, but like one of my best friends lives in Atlanta, so you're going to have a great time. It's a wonderful place. I guess we were talking as well during the broadcast about coming from Australia, playing basketball, then going over to the US, and it's a different system. And basketball's basketball, but the NCAA is a slightly different style maybe to what you'd play here. Was your visit much of an indicator in terms of the style of play or your teammates, or how are you feeling about going and entering into this new challenge that you're going to have?
When I went on my visit, I actually saw like them kind of doing some workouts, and it is a different kind of environment, a different kind of feeling when you're in there and watching them train and watching the coaches interact with the players. And like, it's definitely, it looks good. Like, it looks like something I want to be a part of. So
Yeah.
I know it'll be a different style, but I'm really excited to join into it, you know?
Yeah, well, we're excited for you. Like, we're both jealous in terms of I would do almost anything to go back to be having 4 more years of eligibility. So you're going to have a wonderful time. On the court, it will be great. Education will be awesome. Living in Atlanta will be awesome. So
Definitely.
wish you all the best. It'll be excellent.
And,
Yeah,
and
thank
how's
you.
it going to affect the QBL? Like, do you have plans? How long will you be playing for the Force? Is it going to be through finals, or you have a set date where you have to go?
They do want me there about, I think it's like the 3rd to the 5th of August. So, but that's not, none of it's totally definite yet. So I obviously want to stay here as long as possible because of the finals and everything. But I'm still trying to work that out with my coaches, and I've talked to Marnie and Brad about it, our coaches, and we're just trying to like interact and just see how it can all work, you know.
All right, well, hopefully we'll get to see you here through finals action. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us after the game. It was a great game and a great win for the Force, so keep that undefeated streak rolling.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you.
All right, guys, that was Kate Head from the Ipswich Force. I'm John Guarna. I got to thank Kate for joining us. I got to thank my broadcast partner, Dan George, Regan Baker on the production panel, Chris Sieber on the camera, and also James Bowman from Australian Sports Network. Don't forget to tune in next week. We will have the QBL Game of the Week. It's the Rip at the Caps on next Saturday night. Don't forget you can watch us live on Basketball Queensland's YouTube channel. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll be back shortly with the men's game here on your QBL Game of the Week, presented to you by Nothing But Net Media and Live Sport Australia.